Good morning, and thank you for tuning in. My name is Carissa Deshays, and this is my weekly podcast, Faith Over Fear. I'm so honored and so grateful to have Nikki Leduc here with me. We ended up getting connected on Facebook. She reached out. She had a testimony. She wanted to share her experience, faith, and hope with me, and I'm so, so grateful that you're here today. Thank you for coming. How are you feeling?
Nervous, but
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about it. Like, it's normal every
Yeah.
single time. Even when I do interviews at this point, I'm like 2 years and I still overthink it. And I'm like, what am I going to ask them? What am I going to say? And then it's just like a normal conversation. So what brought you here today? I know that you kind of like looked into the podcast, saw like the mission and vision of what it was about, and what brought you to want to tell your story today.
I mean, as you just said, I have seen the podcast. I mean, I've shared at commitments, like going to rehab centers or even in meetings I've shared. But I guess I want to like broaden my horizons or like, I don't know.
Like expand on different like platforms
Yeah.
and everything. No, that's amazing. And like I said to you, like even in recovery and like sharing at commitments and all these things, like if we impact one person, that changes the whole game. Like it makes such a huge difference. So if I can help one person a day, then my job is done. So that being said, yeah, this is just a safe platform to share your story and your testimony. And like I said, we all have a story that we've gone through. And, you know, I think part of our responsibility is going through that darkness. And when we get to the light, to pull other people through. With that being said, I would love to welcome Nikki Leduc. And so what is your story?
I mean, I guess start at the beginnings. Grew up in Lawrence. I'm not going to say like growing up was difficult. Like there was definitely things that happened that caused trauma, but like it wasn't bad growing up. My parents divorced at a young age. I think both of them have dealt with mental health things or issues. And that's where I think like addiction comes into play in my life because both my parents, to my knowledge, there's none addict on either side. But there's mental health struggles. So yeah. At a young age, I did get diagnosed with depression, anxiety, ADHD, a whole bunch of things. They did prescribe me Adderall.
When you were young?
Yeah, when I was younger. So like it was fourth, fifth grade, like middle school age.
Do you feel like that had a negative effect on you?
I think as I got older, it did. Like when they started me off on it when I was younger, like I saw the effects. Like I was like, oh, I can focus in school. I'm getting better grades. This is amazing. I think it was like maybe junior year and so on and so forth. That's where it kind of like I started to learn things like, oh, you can sell this stuff. Oh, you can take more of this than what you're supposed to.
Right. And it gives you like a different feeling.
Exactly.
Like you didn't have all of those because you said you suffered from, which I identify like anxiety, depression.
Yeah.
So when it gives you that feeling, you're like, oh, I feel okay.
Yeah. Like that, like being able to like take more and then be like, oh my gosh, like I don't feel like me. I feel like a gang out of self. Like it was, well, at the time it was amazing. Obviously later on, I found out it's not amazing.
Do you think it gave you a new sense of belonging, like confidence? Is that how you felt?
I think a little bit, like being able to like, not that I don't fully focus, but like being able to like focus and do well and stuff, or like during those times, like in school, being able to focus, pay attention, it was great. Once I got older, I was like, oh, I can work even harder. Like I don't need to sleep. I can just work. So it's like, I would start taking it to work and like just do everyday stuff so that, yeah.
So basically you were functioning.
Yeah. Like I was functioning.
And at this point, did you know that you were like struggling with addiction, or was it more or less like not even a thought?
It wasn't even a thought. Like I really didn't know. Because like early 20s, late teens, like I didn't really know much about addiction. So like I was like, there's no problems, there's no issues. I got pregnant and then stopped taking those medicines. Well, just the one that I stopped taking it because I was like, I'm pregnant, I don't need it. Just kind of sold them to people who I knew, and life was going on. It was fine. Had my son, and after that, like I didn't go back to it, but I definitely started drinking. Like I started drinking heavier. I felt like I could have a drink or two and I'd be fine, but like I noticed I was definitely drinking to like get hammered. Like it could be Sunday dinner with the family, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, we're gonna get completely trashed, and people would be like, what? And I'd be like, oh, no one's doing that. Oh, okay.
Right. It was almost like justification because you're like, okay, I'm here with my family. Like I'm allowed to have a drink with dinner.
Exactly.
But you can't just stop at one. You want the full effect. And it's not even like the full effect of relaxation. It's the full effect of like, I don't even want to be in my body.
Exactly.
Right.
Like I think I was so uncomfortable in my own shoes that like I didn't want to be me. Like I didn't want.
This was after you had your son.
Yes.
So how was the transition? Because obviously, like I know, like being pregnant and stuff, like it's like your body's going through a bunch of changes anyway, hormonal changes, emotional changes, like having to adapt to this new way of life. So I know we had talked about it prior, but when you were going through the pregnancy, it's not like the obsession was there.
Yeah. No.
Once you had your son, do you feel that it was a balance of like trying to still put those emotions down that you had in the past and also like learning to be a mom? Was that difficult for you?
I think definitely like becoming a mother and like getting on like a whole different schedule because like it's no longer me. It's me plus a human child.
Right.
So like I think learning how to become a mom, be a good mom, get on a schedule with a newborn, and then also dealing with the complications from the pregnancy that I had. It was like a bunch of things all at once and like trying to deal with everything. I found my comfort in alcohol.
Did you have any support? Like when you had your son, did you have family that were helping you? Or do you feel that you were really just kind of like in this isolated place of,
I definitely had family. Like I lived with my mom at the time. Also before I left the hospital because I was still considered a teenager. I was 19. They put me in a teen parenting program and they were super helpful. Someone every week would come to my house, they'd check on me, check on my son, and they'd be like, "How are you doing?" And to be quite honest, even when I was in the hospital and they would be like, "How are you feeling?" I don't know if it was just because there was so many things going on. I was just like, "I'm okay." And I think it was after I left that I was just like, "I'm okay," but like I wasn't. And like
right?
I think also there was fear behind that. Like, I don't know what happens if you say that you're not okay. So I just kind of went with it and I was like, I'm good. Everything's going great. Like, but it wasn't.
Right. So it was just like a lot of disassociation and just kind of really just trying to get through the motions, which is valid, especially learning to trust somebody and being so vulnerable and like talking about maybe like, internal struggles you're having or impulsive thoughts or just all these emotions. And then
Yeah.
like, are they going to report me? Am I going to lose my child? Like, am I going to end up in like a psych ward? Like all these things, it's very scary and it's real. And like, and I love that you're touching on that because, and that's something I kind of want to talk about too a little bit
Yeah.
is with addiction, when people hear addiction, which addiction can be a broad spectrum of things,
Definitely.
not just drugs and alcohol.
Yep.
Gambling, sex, eating, shopping, working. Like there's so many different spectrums to that. But I love that you brought mental health because it's so important. And for my own recovery, one thing that I ignored for a very long time that I'm still working through is trauma and mental health, which kind of go hand in hand. So like I kept picking up, but I didn't realize I just thought it was like the drugs and alcohol. I didn't realize it was like the anxiety, the depression, the PTSD, the social anxiety, like all these different things played a part into that as well, which stemmed from childhood trauma. So, I think bringing light to that and just being so open and like vulnerable about it is really great. My next question for you is so you have your son, when did your drug use like start to become a problem again?
So like as I said, I was drinking. I got introduced to crystal meth by a person off the internet. So I think I was maybe 20, 21, somewhere in my early 20s. I was told because I was prescribed Adderall, it wouldn't really affect me. And I was like, okay, cool. I tried it and I was like, okay. And it definitely started out slow. Like I wasn't ripping and running at that point. Like it was maybe like I'll say once in like maybe 2 times. Some other things happened in my life to where it's like my son was no longer in my care. And it wasn't because of drugs and alcohol. That was just something else. But like dealing with not being a full-time mom anymore and having to once again readjust my own schedule using drugs became like maybe every weekend. And then once I just started getting on a path to where I was like, I'm still functioning, like it was weekly. And then it just became like an everyday thing.
And so when was your breaking point of like change for yourself?
I want to say it was maybe a year or two into my drug use where someone was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to rehab. Would you want to go with me?" And in my head, I was like, kept thinking about because I was like, I don't have a problem. Like, I'm not that bad. I'm not using needles. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that.
We justify it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess the way I thought about it, I was like, I'll go, but I'm only going to like support you. But yeah, so I went and
How long were you there for?
I was there for a month.
Okay. And
Um,
how was that experience for you?
it was scary, but I think it was also like a relief to not only myself, but to like family because yeah, the first person I called once I got there was my sister.
And how did she respond to being there?
She was definitely proud of me. Because I know she was very worried. Like she would send me, I don't know what it was called back then, but like the reels or TikToks back then. Like she'd send me the ones of like homeless people living by the dumpster and them having a complete freak out because of it, whether it be mental health or whatever. And she's like, I don't want that to be you. Like I don't want to see that happen to you.
And how was your thought process towards that when she was sending you stuff like that? Do you think that it was like resentment? Do you feel like you were just like, okay, like I don't want to deal with this right now? Like, or was there a part of you that kind of was like, okay, maybe I do have a problem that needs to be looked at?
I think like when she would send me it, like I'd be like, I'll never get like that. Like I'm not I'm not that bad. And I mean, I don't really think I held resentment to it. I mean, it concerned me a little bit because I was like, I don't think that will ever happen. But I guess I just kind of ignored it and I'd be like, stop, it's not gonna be me, stop.
Yeah, when we're in it, we don't even see it. Like we don't even see how
Exactly.
bad we are. We don't see like I was truly like soaking wet like skin and bones. And then because I wasn't eating and I was super bloated, right? So we don't even see it. But then
Yeah.
that justification of like, oh, I don't live under a bridge, or like for me, it was like, well, I'm not that bad. I mean, I don't wake up in the morning and drink. That was my justification.
Yeah.
I remember judging somebody so hard one time because I was at their house and she suffered from alcoholism and she woke up and she had a bottle of Jack. And I was like watching her. She didn't know I was watching her. And she took a shot. And I was like, because it was like 7:30 in the morning. And I'm like, there's no fucking like, dude, that's crazy. Fast forward to about 6 months to a year later. Here I am, like getting a bottle of wine in the morning and like drinking at 9 a.m. So it definitely gets progressive,
Yeah.
but I totally understand that justification of like, well, I'm not that bad.
Exactly.
Like I don't smoke that much, or I don't drink that often, so I'm not that bad. And it's just like the lies we tell ourselves. But so that was your first time in treatment. You went to a 30-day program. Obviously, that really kind of like planted the seed for you.
Yeah, like that was definitely planted the seed and that I think while sitting in that treatment center, I was just like not denial because I was like, I think at first I was definitely in denial. I was like,
Wait, like I'm not like these people.
yeah,
Yeah, like like why am I here?
yeah. But
Yeah.
as the weeks went on, like it really like I was just like,
Do you feel like when people were speaking and like talking about their experience, could you identify with them?
yeah, and like I
Okay.
think that's where it hit me, and I was just like, I'm where I need to be right now.
Yeah.
Like, I think there was a couple times where I was just like, I want to leave, but like I got not convinced, but like I was like, no, stay because you're safe and you're getting better. Like,
Did you start feeling better when you were there, like mentally, physically? I know 30 days is a long but short time in order
yeah,
to start healing. They say that your brain usually takes about 3 months to even start healing. But how did you feel while you were there? Or were you just kind of like soaking in the process because it was all new to you? Like, do you remember how you felt?
definitely was soaking it in, but like, I feel like I definitely like maybe like physically was healing, like
Yeah.
from burns and all that stuff. Cause like you burn yourself like once or twice when you're using it. So it hurts.
I bet.
But like I was slowly healing the relationship with my sister, with my mom, like just repairing stuff, like the emotional stuff. Or is it emotional? Yeah,
Yeah.
like relationships with family. So like just repairing that kind of stuff. Like it definitely, I think it showed them that like I'm trying. I want to do better. I want to be better. Not just for, I mean, definitely for myself, but also like I have a kid and I want to be around for him. I don't want him to have to ever go through losing a parent at a young age.
Right, right. Well, and I think it's important to which when we go to treatment and they say like when you go back out, like I think the AA saying is like you can't drink with what is it? A full stomach of beer like doesn't mix with a head full of AA or something like
Yeah.
that. So like once the seed is planted in your head, any other time you go, it's like it's just terrible because you're just like I can't even enjoy this anymore.
so
You can't even enjoy it because you know that there's a solution. So after your 30 days, was that like the last time for you? Was that like the end of your journey and you've just like basically been on like a healing journey ever since? Did you find yourself like back in treatment? Like what did that look like for you?
So after the 30 days, I went to a sober house once again, first sober house I ever went to. I think I was there for a solid 3 to 4 months I was there. Um, and then ended up going back out. I think I had an overnight pass or an extended curfew pass, and I used it. And I was hanging out with a guy, which I heard about like the women with the women, men with the men. And I was like, I'm gonna test the limit right now and see how well that works in. I ended up drinking, and I don't know what else I did. It was like synthetic drugs, I think. But I ended up driving back to the sober house I was at. I packed up my room and packed up my car and I left. And I think it was maybe like 2 to 3 week like binge run I went on. And then I reached out to my sponsor and I was like, I need help. And she was like, all right, there's a place in Manchester. It just opened. We'll try and get you into there. And like she made sure she was like, do you need a place to sleep tonight? Are you good? I lied and I was like, yeah, I'm staying at my dad's house. Um, I was still using, but she was like, all right, we're gonna work to get you into a house again. And I was like, all right, cool. So got into that house. They UA'd me. They were like, you're popping for meth and amphetamines and all of that. And I was just like, yeah, I've been using. And they were, I think all of the leadership was trying to figure out what to do, whether to send me to treatment or keep me there, what to do. They knew that I was previously in a treatment center. I think it was probably maybe 5 months before I went to that house. But they spoke with my sponsor. Pretty much they were like, let her rest for a couple days and she'll get back into it. And I did. I got a job again, like started getting all the little things back in life. And yeah, I mean, I don't think I was working any sort of program of recovery the best of my ability. Like I was definitely like really half-assing everything. Like I was happy, but I wasn't happy.
There's something still missing.
Yeah. And of course, I ended up using again while I was still in that house. I think 1 week they UA'd me and I was somehow clean, which I was like, "Whew, all right, huge sigh of relief." And I was like, all right, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing and I can continue to use. Yeah, it caught up with me. The following week, they were just like, oh, you're popping for stuff. And I was just like, okay. And they were like, do you want to go back to treatment? And I was like, absolutely not. It's like the middle of the night. I am not going anywhere. I'm packing my car and I'm leaving. So I think that sent me out for like a whole year before I decided to come back.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what was it like in that year?
It was rough. Like things that you say, or I mean, I know for me, I've definitely been the person where I'm like, I'll never do that. And all those I'll never do that became things I did, like IV using. Like I didn't do it a lot, but like things I said I would never do, I did. So I tried that. Like just stuff like that that I said I would never do. Like even selling myself to get whatever substance, I would do it. Even just for money, like I would do it. Um, it's like I'm not proud of that, but at the time, like I I was confident in the fact that I need those substances in my life. So
But you know what? When we speak, we heal. And like, good for you for owning it. And your past doesn't define you, it's part of your story. And so when we're in active addiction, it's our addiction running our mind because then our body is literally and our mind is physically dependent on it.
Mhm.
If we don't have it, we get sick. And so we're two separate people from our addiction versus like when we're not in that type of headspace. Morals for most, I mean, I can't speak for the entire recovery community.
Yeah.
For myself, they go out the window.
Yeah. And I can identify with that like 100%.
Right.
And I think someone brought that up to me while I was in active addiction. They were like, don't you have any morals? And in my head, I was just like, no, I do not.
Right. And then you're like basically numb. And then you're just going. And then on top of that, at least for myself, and I'm sure you can identify, but it's that shame that comes up too and that guilt of like even a thought that could have been as simple as like, I should have stayed at the sober house and maybe, and what if I would have gone to treatment?
Yeah,
Like, you know, and then when you're a mom or you have kids involved, it makes it, not that I'm saying not that I'm lessening anyone's like recovery or struggles in life at all, but it could be more challenging because then you have an emotional attachment to a child that you're not present for. So then we beat ourselves up more, which gives us a reason to use and drink more. It's so crazy. So when I was 21, I had my first daughter. When I was 22, I found myself in my first treatment program. I lost custody of her and I was not sober at the time. And I remember losing custody of her. And I know this is going to sound, but this is just a car addiction. I know this sounds insane for most people that are listening. They're probably going to be like, well, how did that happen? And like, why didn't you get sober? I was so distraught. And I'm like, that's my daughter. I birthed her. I'm her mother. Like, but I was so relieved so I could drink the way that I needed to. It's this fucked up twist of like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I'm a bad mom, but it gave me a reason to drink more. And then I didn't have a responsibility. So now I could drink freely. It's just the power of addiction.
That's true. Like,
And where it can lead you.
Yeah.
So, you going back out for a year, because that's a long time. Eventually, because you're sitting here, found your way back. What did that process look like? And what brought you back to continue in your journey for recovery for yourself?
so I think it was, I don't know if it's 2022 or 2023, one of those years. I ended up in the Lakes region, and I wasn't supposed to be up there all summer, but I was because my car broke down. I missed one of my, uh, I missed my son's birthday party, and like that was a huge thing that like it crushed me because I had never missed a birthday for him. I don't even know how I somehow, some way got my car running. I got back down somewhere close to where my dad lives, got it somewhat fixed up by a couple of friends who were very helpful. And I got myself back to Manchester, also with the help of my mom. But I started living with a friend. He offered me a place to live, and I was like, yes, I'll take it. I have an interview here. I'm going to start working. Things are going to be great. Still, like, I think it was maybe August or September. I don't think I was like fully invested into like getting sober. And I was like, I'm in Manchester. I know plenty of people. So I went on like the last run ever for me. Um, and it was terrible. It was just a rough time. I got kicked out of where I was living, even though it was a close friend of mine. He was like, "You're not paying me rent. Like I don't want to see you keep just tearing yourself down. Like, you're not well." And I was like, "That makes sense." It got to the point where I was living where they kicked me out. So this is a different friend now. They kicked me out because we just kept fighting. It wasn't fun. It was really early in the morning. I was like off of South Willow Street, and I was like, I don't have enough gas to make it to either of my parents' houses. Let me drive over to the west side to where the friend offered me the apartment where I got kicked out of. And I just waited till it was like a good time in the morning to knock on someone's door. So I slept in my car that night. I was locked out of my own phone because I don't know what I was doing, but knocked on the door, we'll say 10 a.m. And I was like, I need help. I'm locked out of my phone. I don't have anywhere else to go. I have no gas. Please help. And that friend was able to help make calls. Like, called my mom and was like, she's safe. Don't worry. We're figuring out where we're going to get her. And he was like, oh, I know a guy in recovery. Let me call him. So he called that person. And that guy was like, oh, I know a female in recovery. Let me get you her number. So we called, and I think I was like, I've been in recovery before, and I have like maybe a couple days clean. I was like maybe a good 24 hours clean. But she was like, come here tonight and you have a bed. And I was like, sweet, okay. So I did that. And that was
it a sober living place?
yeah.
Cool.
And like I think I pondered the thought of going back to treatment, but also I was just like, I don't just want to sit somewhere for 30 days or however many days. I want to get back into life. But like, honestly, even if it was like brought to me at that point, I would probably taking it because I was tired. Like I was just exhausted, like mentally, physically, like every aspect of life. I was exhausted. I was tired. Like I just couldn't keep going on like that. So yeah, like if treatment was presented to me at that time, I would have probably been like, I'm waving the white flag, take me, please. Like,
that's when you know.
yeah.
That's when you know that you're ready for that change because it's not even like that. I mean, there's obviously that uncomfortability and that fear of like the unknown or, our addiction is, I call it a uncomfortable comfort because the way we're living when we're homeless or using or drinking is not comfortable, but it's comfortable for us because it's familiar and we know what to expect. Even if it's a rabbit hole that is terrible, like, yes, we know this is what's going to happen.
Exactly.
So But I think that serenity that you're talking about and almost like that surrender of
Mhm.
just being like, I'm done. That's when like the change really starts to happen,
Definitely.
because that's how I felt like the last time. And um, I still fought it a little bit. I lied to my family and they were like, "Are you going today?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going today. They should be here in an hour." They never came. So I just kept pushing it off, pushing it off. But finally, when I went, I had that feeling and I just sat in the car and I didn't try to make phone calls to leave. I just was like, okay, I'm done. I'm tired. So it's great that you had that. It's great that your higher power was able to like guide you in that way,
Yeah.
So what's different for you on this part of your journey?
I think with like this journey so far, like definitely at first when I got back into it, um, I reached out to the previous sponsor I had and I was like, "Can you take me back?" And she was like, "Absolutely." But it's like I really immersed myself within the community, within 12-step programs. Like I made sure I got really involved. I think there's Wide Paws, which it's the young, why am I blanking? It's the young people who are in AA and they do conferences. Like I got heavily involved in that and it was amazing. It was. Even in my house, like I wanted to be involved. Like
Getting connected is
yeah,
everything.
like definitely like I made sure to be connected with my house and even amongst my other fellows, which I think definitely when I look back on it, like I think I did a little bit at the first sober house I went to, even the second one, like maybe a little bit, but not like fully. Like I
Like you
just,
said, you were basically just like going through the
yeah,
motions to just get through and check off all the boxes in order for people to, it sounded like just to kind of get people like off your back.
yeah. Like I feel like the outside looked good, but the inside was just,
And this time it sounds like you're doing it for you,
yes,
which is
definitely.
huge.
Yeah.
And that's where the change happens. Cause like if we're doing it, doesn't, which it's again to people who haven't walked in our shoes and maybe people that can even hold compassion, it might sound kind of crazy even saying like, well, why can't they get sober for their kids or anything? Think
Mhm.
that's I feel like it's a huge motivation
Yes,
to do that.
definitely.
But I also feel like until you're ready to get better for yourself, it doesn't matter who's in your life, what's in your life. Like
Yeah,
if you do it for any other reason but for yourself to get better, like it doesn't always stick. I'm
definitely.
glad that you like decided to choose yourself because like you do deserve a beautiful life. How is your relationship like with your family now and your son and your mom and your sister?
Honestly, it's like I'm gonna say it's pretty solid, I guess. Like, I mean, I feel like there's been times where like certain things have happened where they're just like, "Do what are you gonna do?" And I'm like, "You're gonna be fine."
What's
Like,
that fear?
yeah, because like my grandmother passed away this year.
Sorry.
So thank you.
It's hard.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I don't think either my sister or my mom like came out and said it, but like it was kind of like after the fact where we were like talking about addiction and how like big things that happen in your life that like aren't expected can sometimes throw you for a loop. And so just like when we've had those conversations, like I let them know I'm like, I definitely make sure like that's why I try and be close with my family because like not that I didn't have that connection with them when I was younger or in my like early adulthood years, but like I want to make sure I keep that strong because I don't want to lose that ever. Um, and then I have the couple of close friends who are in recovery too, who I make sure like if I'm feeling down, sad, or even if I'm like super excited, like I'll reach out to them. Like I mean, just making sure I keep connection with people is I guess like a big thing. Like
Connection's the opposite of addiction and it's the
exactly.
opposite of isolation and it's the opposite of like so many different things. So I think it's beautiful. And like sometimes I used to get resentful because I felt like, going through years of addiction and all these things that we've experienced, I used to feel like I was cursed. And I'm like, why, why me? But it's real. I don't want to say like we're the chosen ones, but I feel like we have this opportunity to create a really beautiful understanding of life in a different way, which is like, setting boundaries, being connected to, God or the universe of our
Mhm.
understanding, making authentic friendships that aren't based on materialism or, anything that really society portrays. It's more or less like some of the greatest connections I ever had was in rehab because you're so broken and that person is also basically where you are. And instead of like putting this facade on of the exterior, putting makeup on and having this certain portrayal of who we are, it's like, no, you're seeing people for the raw. And I feel like that raw openness that we all have in rehab or any treatment facility creates those bonds because
Yes.
we're being like our authentic selves. So it just shows that like being your authentic self is really your superpower. And I swear if like we could just be like our authentic selves, like, and everything that we do in the world, like people would connect so strong. But I definitely agree with you that connection is so important, no matter what that looks like. Even if you have like one person that you can call and talk
Yeah,
to as your friend, like they say, if you have one person you can rely on, like you're blessed. So
exactly.
I'm glad that you found your way and I'm glad that you're like on this journey. And I mean, I've met you a couple times now and you have such like a beautiful spirit about you. You have such great energy. Like you're a very kind person. And like, I truly wish nothing but the best for you and your family and yourself and your sobriety and like your happiness. Like you really deserve that you found your way. So what does the future kind of look for you? What are some goals that you're hoping to, maintain for yourself? Or is it really just keeping it simple and taking things a day at a time? I know that's like how I live my life too, even though I have goals, but
Yeah, I mean, definitely like keeping it simple and like staying within the day because like
we never know what's going to
yeah,
happen.
exactly. I guess like some goals, like definitely this might sound materialistic, but like I want to buy a house. I mean, I love where I live.
I think it's a great goal though.
Yeah.
I don't think it's even like materialistic in a sense. I feel like that's a great goal to have.
Yeah, and like I mean, definitely getting my son back. Even though I mean, I see him. I can see him every day because I live closer to them now. But definitely, he talks about it. Like he's like, when I'm in high school, I'm gonna be living with you. And I look at my mom and I'm just like, she's like, what? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm scared.
Oh,
But like I'm also excited.
of course.
So definitely that's something hopefully soon, or even if it's in the near future. I definitely look forward to it. But it's a goal. Definitely keeping my sobriety and also like I mean helping others. Like
For sure.
like I mean, I feel like I do it every day. But I mean I also probably do it without knowing it too
I was
sometimes.
going to say that.
But like continuing to helping out people.
Just by showing up for yourself and like the way and staying sober is showing up for society as a whole.
Yeah.
Because you're literally a functioning member and like you're choosing kindness. And like, I'm not saying that like every day is going to be like dandelions and butterflies.
Yes.
Cause I mean, I would say I'm a pretty spiritually content person, but there's moments that are hard. There's moments I'm triggered still. There's moments I'm like overstimulated to the max.
Mhm.
But the thing that we learn and the thing we teach ourselves when we heal is we learn coping skills. When I feel myself getting overstimulated, I can walk outside for a minute and I can take a deep breath, ground myself, and then go back into the moment. So those are things we learn. Before it would have destroyed my whole day. I would have been overstimulated and been like a tornado in the Wizard of Oz taking out houses. So it's a different way, but you just showing up and you just being who you are, like you're contributing to that help within a whole. And every time you speak, like I said, even you just being on my podcast today, like you're helping somebody, you're helping me. I learn something from everybody that comes on here. And I know that like when this gets released, like you're going to help other people too, even if I know it'll be more than one person, but
Yeah.
even if it's one person, then we did our job here. One thing I want to ask you before we log off, which I always end with, everybody that watches knows this, but just a small word of advice for someone that's struggling. It could be addiction, depression, whatever that looks like. What would you tell them right now if you could leave a word of advice with them?
I feel like we touched upon it earlier, but even if it's like one person, just reach out. And I know it's not the easiest thing, but reaching out. I know I've had people I've lived with in sober houses where they're like, I don't have anyone. I'm just like if there's ever a time where you just need someone to talk to, vent to, whatever it may be, like just whoever, like reach out. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, making sure you ask for help is important. And even if it's like uncomfortable, just knowing you're not alone. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that you said that. It's important. But when you're in it, it's so difficult.
It truly is.
But
like no.
You feel so free, like once you finally like ask that. So I want to thank you for being here. You're amazing. Like I said, I truly wish you like love and light on your journey and we'll definitely stay connected and you have another person that's here to support you. And for everybody that has been on this podcast that has spoke, people that have shared, people that have just supported this entire movement. Like I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's been such an amazing, amazing journey. If you or somebody you know would like to be a guest speaker on Faith Over Fear, I'm always booking. I feel like we all have a testimony. We all have a story that we can share that can help another person. That was the whole fundamental vision of this podcast for me, was to just share hope to give to others that maybe just need it. So yeah, Faith Over Fear, it's available on Spotify, iHeart iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spreaker, and YouTube. This is Nikki Leduc. Thank you so much for everything. And yeah,
Thank you.
yes, I hope you guys have a great day. We'll see you next time.